welcome to Tech presented by Kaizen, where we will explore common cleaning questions and answers. This session has been pre-recorded and will include additional FAQs related to this specific topic at the end of the presentation. We hope it is 15 minutes well spent. Let's get started. I would like to introduce Kaizen Zone Ram Wissel.
Hi, good afternoon or good morning. This is a topic that I'm really excited about. It's part of our continuing series of our process control and optimization. Today's topic is focusing on analyst data services. And so when we look at this, a few years ago, manufacturing as we knew it, you had very crowded factory floors, lots of technicians, lots of engineers, lots of things going on. You can see in the picture here where people are really pretty close. Um, then along came COVID-19, and the world sort of changed. Manufacturing today has a much reduced staff on the factory floor. Engineers and technicians may be spaced out physically or having rotating shifts, but in general, there's less people on the floor, and there's also less people in the office. And you can see in the picture here with the cubicles being every other one. A lot of times today, people are working from home or working remotely, especially the engineering group. So, how do we deal with that? Well, really, we become an online society. I don't remember the last time I went to a bank and stood in line, for the teller. Everything's done online. I can deposit checks and check balances, and everything is pretty much done through a mobile app or virtually these days. So, when we think about that and how our world has changed, what about leveraging Industry 4.0? I won't go through the whole series here, but if you look at Industry 3.0, that was really kind of the advent of automation and computers and electronics back in the late 60s, early 70s. But really, when we talk about Industry 4.0, we're talking about the cloud and the Internet of Things and virtual networking, being able to work from home and VPNs and to be able to do those types of things. So, really, what is Analyst Data Services? And that is, where we can take data streams from our Kaizen PCS or our Kaizen analyst, and in this short period of time today that we have today, we're not going to go into details on how those two work, but those devices were also covered recently in their own tech to tech session. So I encourage you to subscribe and click and look at those. And we're always happy to discuss the capabilities and features of those systems. But what happens is you can take those operational data from those devices and upload them to a secure cloud that then you can log into, whether you're at home or in your office, maybe in a conference room, or if that device is sometimes in a clean room. You don't want to get dressed out in the bunny suit. It's convenient just to log in to the secure data platform. So a little bit more about data-driven decisions are critical to successful business today. We're required to capture that data more and more. Industry 4.0 is real and it's happening now. And we recognize this evolving business world and are really trying to be the leader in cleaning process technology and innovation, not only through the devices themselves with our process control system and analyst, but the data analytics and providing the engineer the best tools available to support their cleaning process. Let's take a tour. So if I switch over to the the analyst platform here, we're going to log in. And on the left-hand side here, you can see an array of different data buckets or weeks that we have. So I'm just going to click on this first one that's kind of programmed for today. That's our select the tiles view. And what you're going to see right now is the data loads. This is exactly, I'm sitting in a conference room miles away from our applications lab. And what we're doing is you can tell that the PCS, the power is on. It's in automatic mode. The concentration right now, if I was standing there, would be 15.2%. It's about 154 degrees. I'm consuming about zero point 0.9 gallons an hour. I have a green light tower if I was there and zero active alarms. So I know, I'm not anywhere close to the lab, but I know that the machine's working really, really well. There's some other really cool information here is that you can see across the top here there's a bit of a timeline for this week, and you can see across it's a whole view right now across the timeline or these charts, I'm going to pick in here and just say, I'm going to highlight just for today. And you can see this morning, the inline went from about 78, 79 degrees here at about 8:20 this morning, and that's when the wash pumps turned on. You can actually see that happen right down here at 8:25, 8:24 or so was right when the wash pump kicked on. It's when the temperature came up, and then you can start seeing the concentration. You just staying right in there and right changing with the tank volume. And you see the concentration go up as water evaporates a little bit, and then it comes back down. You can also change the scale on these charts and zoom in. We could spend a whole hour going through the different features and nuances and how to do this. So in the short time today we have, this is just kind of a quick overview. But the other thing that's really nice is if I was looking at it and I could tell right now, um, the constant, the volume of the chemistry drum attached is about 29 and a half gallons. And one of the things that happens with an automatic controller is that, it's like on autopilot, how do you know you've got a certain amount of chemistry supplied in the drum that's attached to it? You can look right here on the dashboard and it will tell you. The other thing that's really nice is, kind of it will do a live CPK type calculation. And so, for today, that concentration has been really varying right around 15.0 to 15.3%. So if I've got a 1% tolerance, my CPK on that looks really, really good. So that's just bucket about operation today. If I clear that selection and zoom out, I can see back here there was some interesting things that happened on Monday. So here's Tuesday on the timeline. I'm just going to go back to Monday afternoon, and I can tell you exactly what the concentration was when the wash pump kicked on, how the temperature behaved. You can see when the wash pump turns off that the temperature starts to gradually decline, gives me a different water consumption value, and so forth. So lots of information here on the dashboard historically. But that's this week. Well, what about if I go back a little bit further? And so I'm going to pick. We did some testing on the week of February the 21st, and pull this data graph up. And the first thing you're going to notice is that that layout looks entirely different. So very similar information, but you as the engineer, the operator, can manipulate and choose the layout and customize things so it has the exact data that you find most valuable and the exact way that's most easy for you to digest and interpret. So when we look at this, you can tell that the PCS ran, if I look at the wash pump operation or the temperature or the concentration, it really ran for four different chunks of time that week. Um, Down here in the lower left, that looks like it ran for about 39 and a half hours of operation. Um, if I look at how much, for the weekly consumption or the hourly consumption, it was about 0.8 gallons an hour, and about almost 10 gallons, 9.7 gallons of water per hour, which is pretty typical of what we see with a uh, normal process. And again, that's why that automatic control is with the PCS is important, because in an inline system, you lose a lot more water, and in just a couple of hours, that concentration can change dramatically without having some sort of automatic adjustment. So again, we could pick up, zoom in and pick any day in particular if we wanted to highlight, well, gee, on Wednesday, February the 23rd, exactly what, the hours that the machine operated and the different conditions. And again, you can adjust scales and customize this. So this is a lot of focus on kind of the PCS. I'm going to switch over to our third example for today, kind of an analyst bucket. Now the analyst, remember, is the concentration gauge, uses a similar sonic velocity sensor as our PCS, but it doesn't automatically control the concentration. And so this is an example of the demo unit we have over in the lab running on a hot plate and a stirred beaker. And again, you can use totally different data, but the same interactivity, where you can see that this morning the system was turned, the hot plate was turned on at about 7:28. You can see the temperature come up and the concentration. And again, you're seeing water being driven off or evaporating. And so that concentration changes a bit. going from about 15.39 here, 15.4 up to almost 17.3. And then, around noon, uh, we added some water. Or actually, take that back, it was exactly at 10:30 or so, 10:35. Added some water, to bring that concentration down. You can also see that affect the temperature. And then that water has started to evaporate and that temperature climbs again. So again, but from afar, I can quickly and easily look in and know I've got 4625 in the machine or in the analyst, no alarms, know what my concentration is, temperature, and how the device has been operating. This is really helpful for a batch washer type of system. But again, the key is about the um, data and being, not on the operating floor or production floor, but being remote, whether I'm working from home or somewhere else. So with that, we're going to come back to our presentation and go on to our next slide. And one of the questions that really comes up is, and this is the cloud, is my data secure? And the backbone of what we're doing is really based on AWS or Amazon Web Services, who's a recognized leader in data security. All the data that's uploaded is loaded into an anonymized data lake, and then it uses symmetrical AES 256 encryption keys for decrypting that data. So it's using as secure of a communication protocol as possible. But more importantly, let's talk about what data is actually going up to the cloud. We're logging things such as concentration, chemical and water usage, wash pump operation, etc. Those things that you just saw in the quick tour. It does not track any or record any product related information, no barcodes, serial numbers, part numbers. If you're an OEM, what product you're building or who you're building it for. So I kind of like to say, well, it might be 50 degrees and raining in Seattle today. I don't know who's in Seattle. I don't know if they're having a parade or what might be going on. I just know that kind of the weather that it's there. So that data is useful for someone that's there, but you don't really have the granularity for exactly what's going on in that process on in a part number or barcode piece. So that really kind of helps and further enhance your security. So when you come back and look at this, kind of think about the analyst data services or the ADS dashboards that you saw versus typically that old, manual logbook that you would have. If I'm thinking of a couple scenarios, maybe I'm starting a process. I've got to design my process or have a qualification. And then once I have that process qualified, how do I continue to verify? Do I want to go back and take those paper logs that somebody's maybe logging a couple times a day, putting that data into Excel, or would I rather have that served up digitally? And there may be plant computer systems and other Aegis type platforms. But this is really the only tool that's focused on the cleaning system as a application as a whole. This can also help if you have a potential failure in the field and you're trying to go back and say quickly, well, what day was that made? Okay, how was my cleaning system running? Did I maybe have an anomaly? You can quickly look that information up. And also, everyone gets audited at times. Is this maybe a customer audit or an internal audit? But it's really trying to create, um, to be able to serve up and retrieve that data and operational conditions for your washer very quickly. So, and again, if you're in the office, this is great. But if you're working from home, whether you're in the kitchen or some corner of the house, being able to have that data at your fingertips is really helpful. And you may have seen this picture. I love it, from some of our marketing pieces. You could actually be on the beach, although I wouldn't recommend disturbing your vacation. But you could have it's the idea of peace of mind, that data access. Just like you can check on your bank account and make sure that there's no strange charges when you're out of town. You can do the same with your cleaning process. So it's about peace of mind and security. So, couple questions that are often asked about this. Can I control my PCS or analyst from the ADS platform? The answer to that is no. It's a one-way communication. The analyst or PCS broadcasts data up to the cloud, to the secure cloud. There is no reverse signal going back down to the device. Another common question is, how do I know if this sounds interesting? How do I know if my PCS is enabled with the data services capability? Every PCS built after October 2017 has had the hardware built into it. And so, and every analyst that we've made has the capability to do this. So it's really about linking those devices in. If your PCS is older than October of 2017, we actually have an add-on package. It's really simple to do that will allow you to stream that data. So the other question is, okay, that sounds good. What type of connection is required? And it's really, for the PCS, there's more data, there's a little bit more information that's being transmitted. So we really like to do that with an Ethernet cable. On the analyst, it can either be a Wi-Fi connection or an Ethernet cable. Static IPs are not required, so you don't have to ask your IT group for that. And again, that's because we're not trying to access the device. This is just broadcasting directly up to that secure cloud. That also means that firewall rules that only allow that outbound traffic are perfectly okay. So there's no new point of entry into your network. And our last question is, will my data be shared without consent? Absolutely not. This is your data, secured in the cloud, but there are times when that may be very helpful for you to choose to share that with us, especially in the world where we still have trouble traveling, especially internationally. And so if you're seeing something in your process that's a bit of an anomaly and you'd like some help troubleshooting, one of the powerful things is that you can give us access or share your dashboard layout with us, and one of our technicians can quickly look in and help give you a little bit of coaching or advice in maybe what would be going on. But again, your data security is very important to us. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, William. Thank you for sitting in, and I really appreciate you listening to this topic that means a lot to me.
Thanks, Ram. Thank you all for watching this Tech to Tech session. If you would like to discuss this topic further or have any questions not answered in the session, please contact your local Kaizen regional manager or send an email to tech@kaizen.com, and we will have someone follow up with you as soon as possible. Do you want to have exclusive access to future content sent directly to your inbox, or do you know someone who would benefit from these sessions? If the answer is yes, just go to tech2techbykaizen.com and fill out the subscription form. And if you like this video, be sure to follow us on our social media platforms for more expert cleaning content.